You know, we usually think of textbooks for just one thing, right? Math, science, history. But what if a textbook was designed to be, well, a guide for pretty much your entire life?
I mean, seriously, just imagine for a second. A single book that tells you not just what to believe, but also what to eat, how to handle your relationships, how to get through major life events, and even how to see your own place in world history. The whole shebang.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are cracking open a grade 10 Islamic Studies textbook to see how it builds this complete framework for life, basically shaping how students see the world from the ground up.
So where does a guide for everything even begin? Well, according to this textbook, it all starts with stories. These are the narratives that lay down the core beliefs before you get to any of the rules.
First up, the book takes us way back to the ancient kingdom of Nimrod. Now, this guy is presented as this super arrogant king who not only denies God, but he actually claims to be God, pretending he's the one in charge of life and death. You can already see the conflict brewing, right? The power of one man versus the power of a creator.
So, into this scene walks Prophet Ibrahim. That's Abraham. And the textbook describes this incredibly dramatic act of defiance. While everyone's away at a festival, he goes into their temple and just smashes every single idol, well, all except the biggest one. And he hangs the axe right around its neck.
And boom, this sets up this huge, dramatic confrontation. The people come back, they see the mess, and they're just stunned. And that question hangs in the air. A direct quote from the text. Who has done this to our gods? It's a really powerful moment, designed to make everyone stop and think about where real power actually comes from.
Okay, so from these big foundational stories, let's see how this all translates into, practical everyday life. The textbook spends a lot of time on personal well-being, creating this whole framework for your body and your health.
For example, check out the 1/3 rule for eating. It's actually super simple. The book advises you to fill 1/3 of your stomach with food, another third with water, and then you leave that last third totally empty for your breath. The big takeaway here is this idea that moderation and balance are absolutely key to staying healthy.
And the guidance gets even more specific when you get to hygiene. The text recommends using something called a siwak. It's like a natural toothbrush from the arak tree, but it also warns you not to overdo it to protect your tooth enamel. But what's really interesting here is how it deals with modern stuff. It says things like razors and deodorants are a personal choice, which kind of shows this blend of ancient tradition with modern life.
All right, so we've covered personal health. Now, the textbook zooms out to look at society as a whole. It lays out a really clear set of rules for navigating all the big milestones in life. We're talking everything from marriage and family all the way to mourning.
Let's take the concept of hidad, or mourning. The book defines it really specifically as a period when a widow abstains from things that might, invite a marriage proposal. So no perfume, no flashy jewelry. It acts as a clear social guideline for what can be a really difficult time.
And it's the same story with divorce, super detailed. The text lays out this specific waiting period, called the Ida, that a woman has to observe. But what's fascinating is the nuance here. It's not a one-size-fits-all rule. The length of time actually changes depending on her specific situation, whether she menstruates, if she's past menopause, or if she's pregnant. The book is also really clear about marking that transition into adulthood. It defines puberty as a key life event, pinpointing it biologically to a girl's first period or a boy's first ejaculation. And from that point on, the text says that person is considered a legal adult.
And for our last stop, the textbook zooms way out, from personal and social rules to giving its own distinct take on world history. It's all about positioning its legacy in the grand story of global civilizations.
So check out this map. It shows the diplomatic outreach that happened during the time of Prophet Muhammad. The textbook explains that letters were sent out from Al-Medina to the rulers of all the major empires of the time. We're talking Persia, Egypt, Abyssinia, even the Roman Empire, inviting them to Islam.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. The book makes a direct critique of other historical accounts. It argues that Western history often covers the Greeks and Romans, and then conveniently jumps all the way to the Renaissance around 1500. Basically skipping over what it calls the stunning and far-reaching progress made in the Islamic world during that huge chunk of time.
And to make this history feel real, the book even follows the journey of a single, incredible artifact. It tells the story of an early Quran manuscript. For centuries, it was kept safe in Samarkand. Then, conquering Russians took it to St. Petersburg, and after the revolution, the Soviets moved it again, this time to Tashkent, where the book says it still is today. It's this amazing little story of an object traveling through empires and ideologies.
So, when you put it all together, you can see this is so much more than a typical religious textbook, right? It's a truly holistic guide. It takes you from these foundational stories of belief to the really intimate rules for your personal health, to a legal framework for life's biggest moments, and finally, out to its own unique view of world history. It really is meant to be a manual for living.
And all of this leaves us with one last, really big question. In a world that is constantly changing, with new technologies and evolving social norms, how does a framework that's based on ancient guidance keep finding relevance and providing answers for people today? That's definitely something to think about.